Everything you've ever wanted is already here. Everything you've ever searched for is already here. So I said this in a previous video I made, and someone in comments asked what I mean by this, which is a great question, and I thought a perfect topic for a video. So, first of all, it's a good koan. You could ask yourself, how is it possible that everything I've ever searched for, everything I've ever dreamed of, everything I've ever thought I wanted is already here, is already the case? What would have to be true for that to be true? This is the kind of thing that you're not going to analyze or dissect with your mind. It's the kind of thing you feel into. You just drop it into your being. Drop it into consciousness. Drop it into who knows where. How is everything I ever wanted, everything I ever sought, how is it that that could be already right here, already the case, already with me? Can you feel into that? So like anything, turning it into a koan, turning it into a burning desire to know experientially is probably one of the most powerful things you can do with any investigation or curiosity. If you're genuinely curious about something, or if it just strikes you in a way that it didn't before, something about it rattles something inside of you, then you can always use that as a koan. A paradoxical question is a koan, meaning on the surface, the logic doesn't hold up. How could anything I've ever searched for be already here? How would that even make sense at all logically? But the beauty of this is it doesn't have to. If the question resonates with you, if it somehow attunes to something inside, a deeper truth, an ancient truth, then ask the question and release it into yourself and just sit in the silence, sit in the mystery. Now, for a more specific answer, I would say that this hits on two levels. The first level's with awakening. When we have an awakening, we have first awakening, we have Kensho, Satori, stream entry. A lot of different names for essentially the same movement, which is a significant and fundamental transformation in identity. When that happens, we see desire. We see thoughts about what I think I need and want in a very different way, at least for a period of time. And the way in which we experience them as different is that we realize they're all made out of the same stuff, which is consciousness. You may not experience it as consciousness with that label, but the feeling of being a seeker, someone who's always trying to quench the fire inside through mental seeking, daydreaming, hoping, wishing, pushing, pulling, just subsides. And there's a deep peace. And it's seen that this is already how it is, how it always was, and how it could never not be. Essentially, all of it is consciousness. Some people experience this as a fundamental, profound, and all-pervasive sense of I, being, I am. But regardless of the flavor or the description or the term that someone might be predisposed to use, the inclusivity, the sameness, the intimacy of this all-encompassing consciousness, being, awareness is unmistakable. And at this level of realization, it's obvious that everything we sought here in the mind with thought objects. And those thought objects never became anything other than what they always were, which was primarily consciousness. So this is the ocean and wave analogy. The waves don't stop being the ocean, no matter how small, large, dynamic, subtle they are. They're always the ocean, and they can also form as a wave. So anything we've ever thought about, any thought we've ever had, even if the thought makes it appear to be something that's not in our experience right now, is fully and wholly made out of what experience is made out of, which is the only thing we've ever experienced, which is consciousness. So from that knowingness, which is marrow deep, it's not a knowingness of logic. It's not a belief. It's deeper than belief, far deeper. Then it's obvious that everything we could have ever desired, wanted, anything we've ever chased in our mind, it's already here. Now, as wonderful as that sounds, or as strange and bizarre and mind-blowing as that sounds, there's a whole other level to this. And that comes when we start to recognize that what we experience as the physical world, or the sensory world, is itself non-solid, non-spacious, non-continuous, without any abiding truth to it, which sounds very strange. But in experience, it's even more intimate, more imperturbable, more obvious, more intimate, more real than real. This is that place that's so difficult to talk about, and in certain ways I almost don't talk about it because it just seems far-fetched. But it's the kind of thing where you look at your own hand and you see the entire universe. One footstep is also the nearest galaxy. One flap of a bird's wing is the beginning and end of the universe. And this is something you experience directly. So you can see why I don't talk about this very often. But when someone realizes it, this is exactly the conversation we have. And it happened twice today. 2 different people message me with this realization. So from this place, language is completely inadequate. And if you thought consciousness and the unity of consciousness and being was intimate, was remarkable, was mind-blowing, that's got nothing on non-duality. To experience yourself as the whole entire environment in such a way that self and environment no longer make sense or have any relevance whatsoever is a whole other order of realization. But it's available to you. But you got to do the work. And the difference between the first level of this realization that we're talking about, or this way of speaking, and the second is a lot of shadow work. It's a lot of work in reactivity. It's a lot of willingness to feel emotions that we really didn't want to feel. You can wake up without having to do that, largely. But after awakening and a layer of identity is scraped away, it becomes pretty obvious that most of what you feel like you are is reactive, fear-based. So there's a good amount of work there for most people to clarify what's what. But it's worth it in the end.